Welcome to Breaking Barriers. You know your path. We know the obstacles, and we can teach you how to tear them down. And now your host, CEO and founder of Adapting Social, John Vigero.
But no, seriously, welcome back to Breaking Barriers, guys. I'm really excited. Everybody that watches this show knows how much I love high performance. I love entrepreneurship. I am obsessed with sales. And this author here and this dynamic duo here with the Stratum team, and author, obviously, Aaron Salko, Kelly Johnson, both of you, thank you for being here today. And I'm excited because this is going to be a lot about high performance, yes. Right? And a lot of people who listen in, especially to Breaking Barriers, do so because they want to grow, they want to build their personal development, they want to get the edge. What are they not doing that they could be doing? And learning from better, smarter, or more experienced people.
It's the perfect audience.
Right. So this is literally the perfect audience, right? This was not that was by accident. But anyway, so for people that are watching, I want to start off with a question, right? And I'll start with you, Kelly. So obviously, the book and what you guys are doing at Stratum, is about building and making somebody into a high performer, right? Now, when you get to that level of high performance, a lot of times people, they don't know, they're very unclear with what success looks like. Now, I'm curious for both of you, so now I probably should have asked him this first, because now he's going to be thinking about his answer. But what does success look like to you? So, all right, so, if you're, succeeding, you're high performing, what does that look like, that mountaintop for you specifically, success?
That's a great question. And Aaron already has an answer because it's in the book. What is success?
Right.
So not fair.
Yeah.
But for me personally, success looks like it's very much about the dynamic of my family and the amount of time I get to spend with them.
Right.
There's that aspect of it. I have a spiritual aspect. I'm a Christian. That's a piece of it.
Yep.
And then from a career standpoint, I like to be really good at what I do. So to know that I'm competitive. So
yes.
To know that I am continuing to learn and educate and practice what I'm learning, and it's okay to fail and stumble, but to know that I can keep doing that over and over and over again, that makes me feel successful.
Love that. I love that. And obviously you're a role model for your child and your future children in the process, so that's awesome. And so even though it's already in the book, what does success look like for you?
I have no idea. Success is an evolution.
Right.
It's something that in my younger years, success was completely monetary driven. I didn't come from a very affluent family, and I wanted to make that a reality for me and my family. And so, the pursuit of money was my version of success in my late 20s and early 30s. But as I began to, evolve, you take on different aspects of success. You look at success as your personal growth. You look at success as your personal health.
Right.
You also look at success as what are you doing for humanity and what are you doing for others? When you're able to take people from one place to another and see them become successful, that's really my version of success. And that's, it's a lot of what the book was based off of and why I did it.
Right. And I think one of the things though too, obviously, I think, maybe you're being a little modest in terms of your success in your career and your sales and stuff. But I think one of the things that most people, have you guys ever read the book Principles by Ray Dalio? Ever heard of it?
Of course.
So good book. But he talks a lot about how typically people have 3 to 4 phases in their life. And typically one, when you're a child, you're dependent. Yep. Secondly, you get a bit older, you're high school, go to college, you're learning, but also still dependent a little bit. Thirdly, you're an adult, you get kids and, you're just out there independent. And then fourthly, you want to give back.
Yeah.
And what I like about what you guys are doing here is it seems like the goal here is to help people unlock, that part of themselves. Yeah. So it seems like a give back component.
100%.
Yeah.
And that third phase though, is where we see a majority of the people who utilize the book and put it into practice, they're in that third phase.
Right.
They're out of college, they're on their own, they're wondering how do I progress?
Right.
What's my next level?
Right.
Right. And if I had to talk to anybody out there and say where do you start? Where do you begin with improving yourself or taking that step to high performance?
Yeah.
A lot of people look at you and go, well, I don't know what the hell high performance means.
Right. Right.
And then they also say, well, I guess I'd go career skills.
Right.
But it's more than just that.
Totally. And so on that topic, I'm gonna go off the cuff on this one, but if you were to go back to Aaron, see, now I'm giving you some time to think about this. If you were to go back to Aaron, in, let's call it high school, getting ready to graduate, what advice would you give Aaron, knowing what you know today?
Man, that's a great question. And there's a little backstory to where I was in that phase of my life. My dad had just passed away, and I was completely lost.
Wow.
The search for mentorship was there. Everybody.
Were you close with your dad?
Very, yeah, okay. Very. And it was one of these things where, my focus really wasn't on myself. So the advice I would give myself is center, get back to center, focus on yourself, and really put some time and effort into what that next step looks like for you.
For you, right.
Because I didn't. At that point, I was like, okay, help mom, help my brother and sister.
Right.
What do we need to do financially?
Right.
How do I get into college? Where do I go to college?
Right.
And so it was like this myriad of things coming at me, at age 17 and 18, and I was highly confused.
Yeah.
And
where are you in your sibling list? Are you oldest, youngest?
Oldest.
Middle?
I was the oldest.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you think that that's a big source of your drive, given those circumstances that you had to step up?
Yeah, I remember it was a little bit after my dad passed, and I said to my mom, I said, listen, you take care of my brother and sister, Corey and Emily, and I got me. I'll figure it out. And so I really wanted that focus because I know they needed that at that time.
Right.
And I knew I had the ability to just navigate, life and figure it out. And I knew I can go for help if I needed it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say, like, hey, I got this.
One of the things, and this is why I love going impromptu on my podcast. That's how we always do it, because you kind of find yourself organically at just a great spot where this is what Breaking Barriers is all about. Most people that go through real life situations, things typically happen to people, and they think, well, why me instead of life happens for you, not to you.
Yes, right.
And I'm sure people listening here can at some point, either they're going through that right now or they've experienced it and then, at some point in their lives, how did you get to that mentality of I can take care of myself? I'm gonna be positive, I'm gonna go get out there and I'm gonna go get it, as opposed to looking at it the other way, like, why is this happening to me? And letting it ruin you.
It almost did. I wasn't always like, oh, let's just go after it.
Right. So how'd you get to that?
Yeah, there was a time when it hit me, and I was like, this sucks. Life sucks. Not fair. Like. Right. And then, I think we all come to that bridge where we either cross it or we don't.
Right.
And I got to that bridge, and I said, listen, you got two ways you can go here.
Right.
Backwards or forwards. What do you want to do? And I chose forward.
Yeah.
Right? And I think my upbringing, I think athletics. I think a lot of being self-sufficient, as far as some of the jobs I had as in my young adulthood, my teenage years, allowed me to take that choice and know that I could do it.
Right.
But it took me 6 more years after I entered college to figure out that everything I did in college I didn't want to do. Right? And then I got.
That's so typical, isn't it? It's always so typical.
That's unbelievable.
That's that performance-based skill, perseverance.
Yes.
And that's something that many think you're born with, or it's innate, but it's not. You can learn how to persevere.
It's a learned behavior.
It's a learned
process.
Yep, there's a process.
Right.
You can learn it.
Yeah. And the process is roadblock, analyze the roadblock, and figure out how to get around it, not how it's going to set you back. That's the first step in perseverance, really.
So because I really love where we're going, but I want to ask you the same question. What advice would you give yourself that's graduating high school?
So as you were talking about your experience, my experience was probably similar to many, where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't even know what some of these degrees were or looked like, or I couldn't even imagine what it's like in the real world, the real world.
Right.
But I remember one thing that held me back a little was focusing so heavily on my relationship at the time and letting that like kind of impact some of my decision making. And
Always
now
does.
I know it's like looking back on it, it's like the relationships you have, they're meaningful, they're important.
Yeah.
But you have to really focus on your future self.
Right.
And it's hard to see, right?
Right.
It's hard to visualize.
Yeah.
But you have to try to, I would tell myself, try to visualize your future self and which relationships in your life right now are still going to be there in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years.
Right.
Because guess what? A lot of them aren't.
They're not.
There's very, very few that are still in my life, that were in my life back then and I think about some of the ones that maybe negatively impacted me. And, you know, as a 17, 18-year-old, it's really hard to take advice from someone older that says, you know, you need to cut out anyone who's toxic.
Yep.
But
you don't want to hear it.
you don't want to hear it.
You don't want to listen to it.
I wish I could have told myself that. There's,
Yep.
you know, toxic relationships that,
Right.
you know, and I moved away from them and moved on and, you know, went
but
to
you
college.
needed them for that time because you learned
Yeah.
so much from it. You know, now
You
you
learn
have
so
a
much from
husband,
it.
you know, and
Yeah.
obviously you're the person you want to be with.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just my boyfriend at the time,
Or even
but
friendships.
it's like friendships.
Right,
It's,
right.
you know, it's so many, you're so easily influenced at that age.
So impressionable.
So impressionable.
Yeah.
So I think finding role models and trying to visualize your future self.
Yeah.
And back then, I thought that things like visionary thinking and creative thinking, I thought those were things that I didn't have.
Right.
I was kind of told that I wasn't the creative type when I was growing up from different teachers and, you know, different family members.
Yeah.
Shame on them.
That wasn't me. But that's another thing I would tell them, like,
Yeah.
you can be creative, you can be a visionary.
Right.
That's another, those are two more skills that you can learn.
Right.
And I think some of those things I put myself in a box because I thought I couldn't be that. So some of the decisions I made of what to go to school for, I avoided some of that like creative stuff because
Yeah.
I thought that wasn't me.
Well, because you were told.
Yeah,
You know what?
yeah.
And I love, and I'm going to be a broken record here about saying this, but like I love the direction we've started this off in already because the thing is, I feel like if you're going to unlock high performance or personal development, we're programmed so early, these things that you're talking about, right? And so a lot of times people don't know their capabilities because they believe what they were told.
Right.
You know, and the tough part is not everybody goes home back to love. Like when you're a kid in high school or you're in elementary school, some people go back home to parents where they're, you know, you're an a-hole or you're an idiot or,
Yeah.
you know, why did I ever have you? Like whatever, stupid stuff like that. And so what I love about this direction is that most people, they are told those things. And I remember at those impressionable ages, like you just shared in high school for me and stuff, I was not like an academic rock star because I never believed it would apply to my future in a weird way. I just was like, why am I here? What, like, you know, I thought that teachers were idiots. I'm like, what am I doing listening to these people? Like, I don't know. I just always had that like thought process, but I'll never forget. I got kicked off the middle school wrestling team because my grades were bad, and my teacher at the time, I was in what they call IEP classes.
Yeah.
So I had like an aide in the room with us and stuff because they said I had a learning disability. So the aide came up to me after I got kicked off the team. And she comes up to me, you know, I'm not gonna say her name, but I remember her, and she goes, "John, listen, you know," she has this pamphlet, and she goes, "I think you need to start looking into this." And it's a vocational school.
Oh God.
And she's like, "You're going to high school next year. I think you really need to consider like doing something with your hands because I don't think you're college material." And I remember she said that to me, and I don't think like after I really contemplated it like later in life, I was like, I don't think she was being an asshole. I think she was being genuine. Like, you're an idiot. Like, you're not gonna. Like, you're like, she was being genuine.
You're
like,
not gonna make
John,
it.
you're an idiot. Like, you're not gonna do anything in college. Like, this is not for you.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time I took it as like, wow, I'm an idiot. Like I can't do this. And at the time, like luckily, you know, I was dating this one girl who was really smart.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's it. Like I'm gonna get good grades now. And for like the next like 2 years, like in Brick, I think there was like 470 people in my graduating class. So when I became a freshman, I was like the top 70. I was like 70th in ranking. And then I just stopped giving a shit again. But I took what she said very seriously though, because in that moment, I took it as like a blow. I was like, wow. I can't do this. Like she doesn't believe in me or I can't get to that point. And when you're young, you think like that's how you make it in life. You go to a good college, you get a good job after or whatever. Point being is I think that's the thing. If you're listening to this and you're a high school student or you're in college and you have all these different things in your family of, hey, you're not good with your hands, or you're not this or that. Like, you don't really know until you actually go do it. And I think if I were to answer that question myself, I wish I was way more exploratory with these types of things when I was younger, instead of listening to these things around me.
Yeah.
So, but let's.
There's two pieces of magic there, though.
Yes.
That you hit on that I want to address.
Yeah.
The first thing is, and part of the book, the grading system, A, B, C, D, F, right?
Right.
It's a good or bad system.
Yeah.
So if somebody acknowledged that you were good with your hands, or
Right.
if somebody acknowledged and said, hey, maybe your learning style isn't conducive to what the classroom brings,
Right.
but if we can adjust that,
Right.
maybe all of a sudden John becomes the number one student in the class, right?
Right.
And so, we are impressionable, 100%. Like you said to the audience, you really have to, you can take feedback, you can take advice from people, but in your head, what you're capable of. And
Right.
the amount of effort you're putting in and you're not putting in.
Right.
So that's really the self-reflection part there. The second part
That's true.
is that acknowledgement piece. The reason you asked before, like where I went and how I got to that next level.
Yeah.
Everything I've ever done in my life, from grade school through high school and sports, and then into my career, my performance, and I realized this not long ago, but my performance was really driven by the lack of acknowledgement I received. Our parents, they're all amazing people. How they were raised was a little harder than we were raised.
For sure.
There wasn't a lot of coddling. It was
Very
like,
different. Yep.
go to work. You
Right.
didn't do it right. Why not? Right? And so there wasn't that like great job, you did it great, like lack of acknowledgement. It was more focused on like, why didn't you do it better?
It was tough love.
Tough love, yeah, tough love.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of us. But
does.
but the reality is that lack of acknowledgement, I went and said, okay, I didn't get acknowledged, I need to do better.
Right.
Drive your performance, do something better, get to the next level. Am I acknowledged yet? No? Okay, I'm gonna drive it
Keep
farther.
going.
Right, you just keep going.
Right.
Until I think it was in my mid to late 30s, somebody called me a high performer. And I said, what the hell does that mean? So at first I said, fuck, finally somebody realized like
Yeah,
I'm
moving.
performing at a higher level.
Right.
But what the hell does that mean? And
Right.
that sort of drove that idea of like, okay, let's define performance, because you just called me a high performer. I have no idea what the criteria for that is.
Right.
Let's build a criteria.
Right.
That's what we did.
I love that. So that goes into my next question. So like, why ninth? Why start building this? And like, where did this come from?
There was a 10th actually. but 10th was.
We got rid of that bitch.
Yeah, we got rid of it. Threw that out. 10th is, there was a 10th because 10th was perfection. And as we looked at it, we said, everybody, I'm a perfectionist. I'm not a big fan of that statement because when people say I'm a perfectionist, perfection is an ongoing pursuit. Olympic gymnasts might achieve perfection when they hit that, they do that perfect thing, and the judges give them a perfect 10.
Right.
Okay, you have perfection, but you have it for a split second.
Totally.
It's fleeting.
Yeah. You're only as good as your next at bat.
Right, and if you look at a gymnast and they say, oh, I nailed it, perfection, got the 10s, they don't sit there and go, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go
Thank
do
God
something
we did
else
this.
now.
Let's pack it up.
No, they're going to go, I'm going to do it again, I'm going to do it better, I'm going to
Right.
figure out how to stay there on
Right.
top, right?
Right.
And so we threw out the 10 and we said, okay, 9 is the number, right? And it was really based off of a learning scale, and it goes from, your awareness of a skill,
Right.
through the acquiring of knowledge of that skill, through the application of how to improve that skill, and all the way through to improvement and eventually self-mastery and the ability to teach that skill. And that's the 9th stratum. That's where high performers operate.
Right.
So that's the essence of the book.
I love that. And so how did you get involved with this whole thing?
That's a great question also. So I started working for Aaron about 12 years ago.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
She drew the short straw.
And at the time, I was 22, and I was like trying to find my way. Just graduated college.
Right.
And my mom worked for him as his nanny for his oldest daughter, and she was from age 1 to 2. Yeah,
Yeesh.
age 1 to 2. And I knew her, but he was being promoted to move to New Jersey. He was in Pittsburgh at the time. And during this phase of...
Sorry to hear that.
Yes.
Go Steelers.
During this time frame, he said to my mom, "Can I put your son in a suit? I need help." And
Right.
she's like, "No, my brother's 5 years younger than me."
Yeah.
And she's like, "You can put my daughter in a suit, though." Then when it came time to going on a family vacation, they asked my mom. She's very fair-skinned. She said, "No, I can't go to an island
Right.
in July." But my daughter's free. She's just bartending.
Get her out there.
Yeah.
I was like, we need a babysitter in Aruba. Let's go.
Yeah. So I went with the family as a babysitter, which was comical because I was not that.
No.
Right.
But I did know his daughter, and they liked my mom a lot, so they trusted.
How old was your
That'd be
daughter
all
at the
right.
time?
2.
Oh, so
Yeah.
she was young.
Yes.
2.
Got it.
First vacation out of the country with her.
Yep.
And you're 22 at this time?
I was 22, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, just graduated college. I was a bartender, actually.
Love that.
But the family thought I was the babysitter. It was really funny. I tried,
You did your best.
But during that week,
Yeah.
he kept asking me interview questions. And I'm like, who is this weirdo asking me interview questions? And afterwards, he said, "Do you want to come shadow me at my job, see what I do?" And I'm like, "Sure." And then he gave me a job offer that was something like this. "I don't know what I need. I don't know what to call you. I just know I need help, and I need a stunt double of me in Pittsburgh. Are you interested?" And I'm like, "Sure." My 22-year-old brain said, "Yeah, that sounds like a great idea." So that's how we started working together.
So did you still bartend on the weekends or anything, or you
Yes.
just boom?
Yes,
Got
I
it,
did.
okay.
Yes,
we didn't pay her a
I
very
had
high
to
salary.
for the salary that I took without negotiating.
Right.
Always negotiate your salaries.
Never split the difference.
Yes. So at the time, my job was then to learn from just his examples of what he did, because there wasn't clear-cut instruction. I didn't
Right.
have a job description. It was a new role that
Right.
the company didn't have at the time.
Yeah.
So I basically just had to shadow him and follow him around and figure out what his processes were, even
Yeah.
though he didn't really know how to explain them well at the
Right,
time.
right.
So I just took a ton of notes and learned why and how he did what he did.
Right.
And through that process, fast forward, to 2020.
Yeah.
I had quite a notebook of notes.
Yeah.
It was
Of how to do
electronic,
all
of
this.
all of his processes and what he does and how he trains sales agents and things
Right.
like that. And what came out of that, but I said, "Hey, Aaron," this was during COVID. I'm like, "It's time to write the book." And he's like, "What book?"
He's like, what the f you
I'm
talking about?
I'm like, all
like,
of your
check the OneNote.
processes. I said, I have them. Yeah, I was like, look at OneNote. I have them all, noted. I have
Right.
some ideas for chapters, and I think you can run with this. He's like, "I think you're right."
That's really cool. That's really
So
cool.
that's why I'm so involved,
Yeah.
because I was the one documenting.
Like the whole time. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And the one thing I do want to say though, for people that are watching this, it's such a good example of I know a lot of people, including in my organization, people who are close to the boss or close to the person who's a leader, working next to him, whether it's I'm an assistant or I'm this, I'm whatever the hell you're doing. Those people typically go places because you're rubbing shoulders instead of working 2 layers away from the leader or the boss, even though you might be doing no meal tasks or things you don't want to be doing. I've seen so many instances, even in corporate America, where a secretary became the CEO 20 years later because she knew everything that he did.
Yeah.
And it was that was the next ideal person. And so if you're watching this, especially in this generation, a lot of people, they don't want to get their hands dirty and go work or do things for free or do things they think are beneath them. And it's I love that at that point in time, you were just fuck it. Let me go see what this is all about. And then bam. So, and then back to that, that's so cool though that you were just documenting this and then bam, let's develop this.
And one of the most important things you said, especially to the listeners,
Yeah.
is, when you're talking about that mentor, that person you're going to tie yourself to, you want to be a compliment to them. She's made me better because of the way she took the processes and began to break them down, and make her own, make them her own.
Right.
And so, this whole thing, we would strategize on meetings that we were going into, and we'd play it out in the meeting, and it would work, and we'd be like, okay, that worked. Let's go teach everybody what just happened there.
Right.
And so we'd go back, and I'd have these sales strategy meetings, and the germination of that led to the success of others.
Right.
And it led to her own success. I mean, she came up with leadership skills that I saw, and she was the first female sales manager in a very male-dominated management company.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Bam.
That's right.
Good stuff. And good stuff for the internet.
And she's changed the culture. She's helped to change that culture.
So, how do you believe that being a high performer can change somebody's life?
Number one, there's two things you need to become a high performer: desire and effort. Okay, those are two things that I can't give anybody.
Right.
But when you become that, when you commit to the desire and the effort and putting the effort forth, generally what that translates to is you begin to raise your level on a holistic approach.
Right.
The ninth stratum isn't just about performance and career-based skills. It's a holistic approach of a human being. So, we break it down into these 5 categories of mentality. How you think about performance, how you think about what's going to happen in the day, the mentality you have in doing things, right?
Right.
Your cognitive abilities, critical thinking,
Yeah.
creative thinking, your social interaction. How are you perceived in public? How are you interacting with the people around you? How are you engaging?
Right.
Your ability to control your emotions and that of others.
Right.
That's a big thing. I mean, how many people do you see that have really significant deficiencies in their ability to control emotions, right? And then
We don't have enough time in the day to talk about it.
Yeah, and then the final, which everybody sort of forgets a lot, is your personal health. Your physical health, your mental well-being. These are all things that are have to be added into this high performance model.
Right.
Because it's great that you can be a high performer. It's great you're making all this money, but you can improve your performance with focus by eating healthy and exercising and having better sleep. You will live longer to enjoy your success, right?
Right.
You can keep up with your family and friends at a point. You don't just let the job run your body into the ground.
Right.
So there's a balancing act to that. But these 5 categories really are the essence of human performance. And when you start to take pieces of each of these 5 categories, this is a process. This isn't something that you read a book and you're like, okay, high performer, ready to go. Who wants to hire me? Right? It's a process. And you begin to work on all these skills. You begin to develop yourself. And as you do that, you begin to see things happening. You're getting noticed, you're getting opportunities, people are engaging you differently.
Right.
You're having better conversations, better relationships. And all of a sudden, what this leads to, this idea of high performance, you begin to see that your success is beginning to flourish, beginning to bloom, right?
Right.
And then you get momentum.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, I get it now. I'm gonna work on this skill, I'm gonna work on this skill, here's where I'm deficient. A lot of self-reflection, and you're just going for it, and all of a sudden you're getting promotion, opportunity, whatever it might be, better health.
Right.
And there's what it equals.
In a weird but organic way, it's almost like when you're like looking for a specific car, and then all of a sudden you see a car everywhere, and you didn't see it before, and it's like, why do I keep seeing this car now? It's like, but it's like when you're focusing on these things, those opportunities start to present themselves because you see yourself differently. And it's funny because I think back to like a lot of people, like when I was growing up, I love to make people laugh. When I'm out in my personal life, I'm a big jokester, and I remember at one point when I was in high school, like people wouldn't take me seriously. And I was too much of a jokester. Across the line where it's like, John's starting his own business. What? John. And I think that's the thing is like when you start to think about yourself differently and, hold yourself differently, health, everything you're saying, you do get different results because people start viewing, you're not acting the same.
Right.
You're changed. And I'm going to ask this to both of you. I'll start with you first. What are some key traits that you observe when you look at somebody who's a high performer?
There are actually 9.
If you're going to say the 3, what are the top 3 that you observe, though, that you think about?
So top 3, I would say, are goal-focused. Mm-hmm. So high performers typically are very focused on specific goals that they set and achieve, right? They have that mindset they want to achieve. Then I would say they are focused on learning, so knowledge-driven. They're driven to learn, because high performers never just accept what is.
Right.
You know, they always want to learn and know, and they're curious.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to choose because there's some good ones. I would say there's a lot of times they're network-driven as well, because they can't. As a high performer, you can't do it alone. Right. You know, it's not an individual sport. It's something that you need a team and you need a network. So it's really important to build your network and your supporters and the people you want to support that'll drive you.
Yeah, I love that. Would you like to compliment?
Yeah. She hit the majors. I agree 100%. Yeah. There's 2 other ones that I always also see too, and one of them is more environmental. You know, it's that altruistic focused mentality where they're doing something, they're performing at a higher level on behalf of the people that need them, because they either want to give back or they want to help, or they've come from a low performing environment, and they choose to want to be better than that. You know, so the environment that they're brought up with drives their performance. You see this a lot with the high potentials that come into the work environment, and they don't know how they got there, but they've got great work ethic. They're always trying to improve. They're reading and they're trying to get to that next level. And you look at them and go, yeah, you're definitely high potential. Yeah. Let's get you to that next level. But also, a lot of people that I see that are high performing, they are health focused. Right. You see them bringing their own meals into the office, right? They're not going out for fast food all the time. They work out. They have a consistent exercise process that they go through daily or weekly. Right. And they're also focused on their mental well-being. Right. Whether it's meditation or the yoga or just their ability to sort of absorb, control, and then reflect. Right. So would you say, Rob likes McDonald's regularly. Is that healthy? Rob, no more McDonald's.
There's a balance. Occasional McDonald's.
Now, what's your cheat meal? I need to know. What's your guys' cheat meal? If you're gonna go and you're gonna dig in, what's your cheat meals?
Wait, I
gotta know this.
I'm gonna say Aaron's. There's 2 things.
Okay.
He eats ice cream in the closet and fried pickles.
Fried pickles is a thing?
You got me.
What?
Fried pickles is a thing?
We have to go out for fried pickles.
Where do you get fried pickles?
I'm a fried pickle connoisseur.
Do you fry your own pickles?
I've tried. It doesn't work out.
Not successfully?
Yeah. There's one place in Cherry Hill, New Jersey called PJ Willihan's.
Okay.
The greatest fried pickles on the planet. If you're
Really?
in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, go to PJ Willihan's, order the fried pickles.
Have you ever had fried pickles?
I have.
Are they good?
Yeah, they're good.
And you got to get the spears. It's not about the
chips
the
are okay
the chips aren't great because you don't get the flavor. You need the spears.
So, but what ice cream for you? What flavor?
Just any ice cream. I mean,
you just like ice cream?
You like dog shit ice cream. Yeah, give it. I'll take it.
I'm a mint chip guy. I like mint chip.
Mint chip's awesome.
What's your cheat meal?
I like the savory fried stuff. I like fried pickles. I'm not a sweet tooth.
Okay.
No interest in sweets.
No, good for you.
No,
That's
but
great.
French fries are like my favorite thing.
You're like a carb. You like carbs.
Yes.
Got it.
French fries, that's probably it.
Yeah. I hate to admit this, but if I'm going cheat meal, Wendy's spicy nuggets. They're terrible for you. The next 3 days, I'm like feeling
swollen?
like total shit. Like I'm losing weight because I'm just like nonstop in the bathroom. I do it like once in a blue moon, but when I do it, they taste so. And I'm always drinking when I do it.
The salt content's off the chart.
Oh my god, the sodium is ridiculous.
Drinking water.
My
So
God.
John, I quit eating meat probably 6 years ago.
Really?
And when I was pregnant 2 years ago, I was craving Wendy's chicken nuggets so bad, and
Did you cave?
No, I bought these like plant-based ones
There
that
we
you
go,
put in
okay.
the freezer.
Yeah.
They were the exact same consistency that I remembered. I'm like,
So you're like, fine.
because I was like, I'm gonna try this, and if it doesn't work, I'm gonna cave. And
Call
I'm gonna
Wendy's.
go for
I'm
it.
getting my Wendy's.
Yes.
Good
but
for you though. You didn't go it.
I didn't, but it's not that those are healthy either. You know, none of it's healthy.
Right.
It's a cheat meal.
It's a cheat meal, right?
Yeah.
It's a cheat meal.
And by the way, that is part of the balance. You know, just because you're a high performer doesn't mean you're sticking.
You're always
this thing.
doing something.
That's excessive. Like we actually have identified that
Extremes.
in the 45 performance-based skills,
Right.
there are extremes to each. And so a lot of high performers get to that, and they're like, "Oh, I'm a high performer, and you know, I only eat this,
Right.
and I never deviate."
Right.
That's not healthy.
No.
You know, so
Totally.
balance. Is key.
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right, we're getting close to the end here. Before we do, I have 2 final questions. I'll break them up. Start with you. Typically, you know, think about high performance and all this other stuff. Typically, you shared it a little bit earlier, where people typically do this because they want to, you know, to better somebody, right? Whether it's their family, you know, the people around them, people who need the help, right? You know, and a lot of times with that built into that cake is, you know, baked into the cake is legacy, right? Now, when you think about legacy, a lot of times we think about where, you know, your heels are planted today, right? Onward. Now, I want to reverse engineer that. I want to think about the thing that's going to supersede your child and future children and their children, and it's your gravestone, right? And now, if
Okay.
you were to write that, of course, paraphrasing, right? Not the full thing here today, you know, and obviously it's only a couple of words, what would that say?
My gravestone?
Correct.
Wow. Yeah, I've never thought of this one. This is new.
Yeah.
I'm glad you get this question first.
I know it's kind of a tough one. What will my gravestone say? Well, I hope that what would be remembered about me is that I hope that I'm making a positive impact on others' lives in a way that brings joy and happiness. And I know that's probably like a little cheesy, but I think that's the best I can do for you right now, John. And
Okay.
might have to come back.
So joy and happiness.
Yeah,
So
I
she
hope I
produced
can
joy and
bring the
happiness.
sunshine
Right.
to people that
Okay.
that I've touched in my life.
There's no right or wrong answer here, right? It's just what shows up for you there. And
Yeah.
and you know, we've asked this question like for the past I think 2 years. We've had some people cry thinking about their family and talk about like their legacy for their children and stuff. So there's no right answer. Point
Yeah.
being,
Kelly Johnson brought the sunshine.
bam.
Drop the mic.
Better wear your sunscreen, bitches. So on your side, I'm gonna ask a different question. I figured I'd give you the harder one in this
Thank
case.
you.
But so for you, has there been an adage, preferably an Aaron original, an Aaron OG, some sort of quote or thought as it pertains to resilience? And for somebody, you know, and I'm gonna corner it to, you know, the earlier years of your life, which had to have been difficult, losing your father. If you were to think of some sort of adage, quote, or thought that came out of that, and you were to put it on a wall or a picture or a frame somewhere, you know, what would that be?
Wow,
That's a tough one too.
that is tough. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a couple that come to mind.
Yeah.
You know, the old the trophies on the wall are of no current value, but the spaces where there are no trophies are priceless.
Damn, that's good. I never heard that one.
It's a good one, right?
That's an Aaron
Damn.
Salko original.
I was hoping you'd pull
Yeah,
that out.
is that one?
That's an Aaron
It's in
Salko
the
original.
book.
I like that. I haven't gotten to that point yet. I really like that. Wow.
But that I think that's like that epitomizes how I see things. Yeah. Which is
That's the drive. That's the
That's the
drive.
drive. You know.
But can I ask you a question on that topic? I want you to remember your thought. But like on that topic, is there something where I had a former professor at Harvard interview me on his podcast, and because I'm like exactly what you just said perfectly emulates my thinking, right? Where it's like, you know, wherever we are, let's just put business as an example, like, you know, okay, here was our goal, you know, this year, okay, we crushed it, but I'm still not happy. Like, what's next? Like, okay, we
next
did it,
mentality?
what's
Always
next?
next.
And
That's an attribute of high performance.
right, right. And so, but, you know, what he said to me though, was the problem with high performers, and he said the word high performers like you and entrepreneurs like you, are that you want the house on the beach, but you get there and you don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you particularly that question. Because you built a house on the water. Funny enough,
Yeah.
so perfect example, perfect time to bring this up.
Yeah.
But he framed it to me where he's like, the people like you never actually get to enjoy your life.
Yeah.
And I had some counters. But that's why I'm curious so how do you enjoy? What is your method of enjoying it when you're not excited about the trophy? That you put so much effort into getting, but it's the chase and the pursuit of the next one.
Yeah.
Don't get jacked up here now.
No, it's
perfect
great because I never want to give up that mentality of what's next. I think the what's next mentality is imperative when you're trying to live life to the fullest, right, and experience all that life has to offer.
Yeah.
But. And there's a big but here. You really have to get good at it to stop and reflect on what you've accomplished and sit back and enjoy it. I'm still learning, I'm still learning how to do that.
We talk about this a lot.
And my wife and my daughters remind me of this all the time.
Right.
Just relax, be in the moment. I had a coach that told me that. She said, I want you to just be. Just be.
Right.
Because I was like, I'm all over the place. And she's like, sometimes you got to sit back and just be.
Do you meditate?
Yes, I do.
Me too.
Yeah. It's
been hard for me to it took me 5 years to finally get to a place where I can just meditate.
Yeah. I think, that's one of my favorite things. And Yoga Nidra is fantastic too.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to that.
Being present.
Yeah, you really have to be self-aware of when you achieve a goal and you're like, okay, done, where are we going? Because if you're not celebrating the win, if you're not taking it all in, you're not just letting yourself down, but you're letting everybody else who was part of that win.
Helped you. Yeah, totally.
You're letting them down too. And it's a practice. You have to get good at recognizing what you've accomplished, sitting back and, like you said, enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're gonna be on this train and the train's never gonna stop and you're gonna wake up one day and go, look at all that I've accomplished, and man, it was a freaking grind, and I didn't like it, and I've never even. I'm sad because I didn't do anything that helped me enjoy it.
Have you guys ever read the book Think and Grow Rich?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So Love Napoleon Hill.
Yep.
He talks about how obviously the book is very at the time it's always man this, man that, but he has this one phrase in it where I'll reframe it to people. But he talks about how before a building is up, at first it's in a person's mind before it's ever truly created into reality. Somebody has a vision of a building, and then before boom, we're sitting in somebody pictured this building, and now we're sitting in their dream or reality, and now here it is, or their vision. And what for me, and just anybody out there who's grinding so hard in their earlier phases, or it could be in the middle, wherever the hell you are, but for so long, I've been at this for 15 years. And I remember anytime I'm in a big life milestone, I always ask advice of people around me that I look up to or I think have been there. And so I was asking anybody and everybody that was older, for instance, when I was, getting engaged, I'm like, how did you do it? Or then marriage, what's your marriage advice? And I remember when me and my wife first got engaged, I saw her more when we were dating in the beginning than I did when we got engaged and married. Because I was so busy with my business that I was up at 4 a.m., back at home at 11 o'clock at night, whatever. But I would ask these entrepreneurs and these really successful, in some cases, one of the guys who was a mentor of mine is a billionaire. Another one, worth a lot of money. Other one is more charitable, success. And I asked everybody how do you find your balance where you have that family life and then also whatever. And every single person I asked that question to told me you can never find it. That's always people I looked up to and admired them. And the one thing I'll always give, my executive coach at the time said to me, he's like, that is their belief, right? So they have a belief. He's like, that doesn't have to be your belief. Because I wanted, similar to you, I grew up and my family didn't have all this stuff, and they weren't affluent. And I didn't want to be in that position, being the oldest, child too. So, for me, I wanted to, I was I have to work hard to be able to achieve these things. But once my coach helped me reframe and I had a paradigm shift into, well, you know what? The lens and the map I'm looking at, well, that's his map and that's her map and that's their map. But what if I created my own map? And the wildest part is I started to try to do this, and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it went from like, I'm in New York, I'm in Connecticut, I'm flying here, I'm driving here, I'm never home, I'm always out, I'm in a million of these things in front of cameras, to nobody wants to meet in person anymore. They're like, even these big companies, like, let's just Zoom, let's just do this, whatever. And then I'm with my wife for a whole year, and it shifted everything for me, where I was like, wow. Like, and I think for a lot of people. But the point though is that like I've been able to build that I don't like the words balance, and I know balance is important. I love harmony. I was able to build a better harmony between like my life with my wife and at home and my personal stuff and my health too. Because dude, most people who are entrepreneurs getting after a high performance, your health is always the last thing you care about.
Always.
You know, because especially if you're driving on the road in sales and stuff, whatever, like you just go and you're on the road, like grabbing McDonald's every now and again, And so it's like you wind up finding yourself in a position where your health, comes up when it's the last time, and you need to see a doctor.
Yeah.
And you're screwed.
Yeah.
And anyway, back to what you were saying, just to affirm that, like for me, I found myself prescribing to everybody else and what they believed and what they thought. And I've had to have a major paradigm shift where I'm not going to live the life of not being able to hang out with my kid or my kids and my wife and be healthy and do the things I want to do. So I love that. I went on there a lot. Before we leave, and before we pick up this handy book here that you guys got to go get, I want to start with you. Any closing thoughts on why people need this book?
Yes. If you're looking for a roadmap to help you get started.
How weird is that? Stephen Covey.
That's great.
Isn't that crazy?
I knew the voice.
That was funny timing.
Yeah, right? Weird. Okay, sorry.
So yeah, if you're looking for a roadmap to help get you started, if you're in a place that you feel stuck, this is a good time to read this book or listen to it on audio, because it'll just get you to that next place of giving you some very tactical advice that you can apply right away. So even if it's, if you don't want to try everything in the whole book, there's going to be something for you to try, and there's going to be very applicable ways to do it. It'll just say like, try this little piece, and you can just kind of filter it into your life any way you choose to.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah. I can't say it any better than that, but it really is. It's a roadmap. It's a process, and it's not something where I'm just saying, go do this. I'm telling you why. I'm telling you, how your body reacts to it, how to use your mind and your body to your performance advantage. And so, just by reading the book, you're going to raise your level of performance. If you begin to apply things in the book, you will unequivocally raise your level of performance and begin to see results from it. It's all about desire and effort.
And the one thing that I always like to say, and I'm just getting cracking on this book. I have my book has sticky notes in it at home.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I'm a true believer in, and I got this advice from one of my mentors early in my career. I was 18, and he goes, John, would you go to a fat trainer at the gym? And I was like, absolutely not. He's like, why? And I was like, because he can't do it for himself, right? So how's he going to teach me? 100%. And I think the one thing that I love about this book is that what you guys have put together, you guys are practicing what you've already done.
Yeah.
And good leaders don't ask people to do what they wouldn't do. And I think what's great about this book is that these are principles that you guys actually, perform and do. Yeah. Right. So and most people look at well, I like this book because it's popular, but this in particular is something that is released from somebody and people together who are high performers. So this is a good. And where can they grab this?
Amazon. Actually, it's on every platform out there.
Yeah.
Apple eBooks. There's the audio version, which is fun. The audio version has a little bit more of a bonus element to it, where at the end of each chapter,
I always love that.
Yeah, Kelly interviews me. We have a discussion to dive a little bit deeper into the concepts and the practices that are in each chapter. So that, if you like audiobooks, get that. She did a great job, and it came out really well.
For people out there who are like, I want to write a book one day, what's the process like?
don't fucking do it.
What's the process like, Aaron and Kelly? Like, is it super challenging? Like,
yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Get a coach. Number one, find an editor that you get along with. Find an editor that knows your style of how you profess or how you put things out there.
And someone who can give you good feedback.
Yes.
Tough love.
like real feedback.
Yes.
Yeah. I had a great editor. His name is Gavin Carruthers. If anybody needs an editor, look him up.
Yep.
He was fantastic.
I think he's got over 30 years in the industry. He was awesome. Like he was so direct in the feedback. He's like, Aaron, you got to stop repeating yourself. I'm like, done. Okay, no more repeating myself. You're using the same word over and over again. Okay, fine. I'm not going to use that word anymore. So, but it was great.
Was
and
great.
in the beginning, it was really tough. You really have to find your writing style. You have to find your voice in the way you write to make sure it's not perceived differently. Make sure your tone's not really maybe condescending or demeaning.
It took some rewrites. So
I
bet.
A lot
of
funny.
rewrites.
I recently found like the first pen to paper.
Oh, I was hoping. We're going to have to do a reading of chapter
It was
1.
awful. It was absolutely awful. Let me just give you a little hint. It started out with the Glengarry, Glen Ross,
Oh my God, I love that.
coffees for closers thing.
Yes.
And I was like, yes, thank God this wasn't published.
Well, this was great. It was so great to have you guys both on. I'm a big believer that time is the only asset we don't get back. So you spending it here with us today means the absolute world to me. And congratulations. I'm really excited about this. I think this is going to change a lot of people's lives. So if you haven't yet, guys, go get yourself a copy. I know I got mine on Amazon. They're on all platforms, as Aaron mentioned. But everybody out there, create an amazing rest of your day. And side note, where can they engage with you guys on social media as well?
You can hit me up at Stratum, Ninth Stratum, hashtag Ninth Stratum, or just shoot me an email. I'm willing to engage. I'm always willing to learn and share. So there's a lot more coming. The assessment's about to be put out there on our website. So that's going to be a really great tool for people who are looking to raise their performance.
So stay tuned, guys. Grab this book. And Kelly and Aaron, thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Thanks,
Take care, guys. Thank you.